So if you've ever asked yourself the question, should I be building out long form content for my online business, or should I be building out short form content, or both? If you're asking yourself this question, you're going to want to stick around for this interview where I chat to Gwen Lane, a influencer from Minnesota in the US. She has historically built out long form blog post content that actually generated 6 figures in income. More recently, she's built her Instagram following to up to around 200,000 followers, and now she is on TikTok. She's going to be chatting about the different ways of systems that she's been putting in place, her successes and failures in online business, and she's going to be giving some pieces of advice. If she was to start all over again, this is what she would do. So I'm going to jump straight on over into the interview. Hope you enjoy. Hey Gwen Lane, how are you doing? Thank you very much for some time on the call today. Happy New Year. And just thanks for turning up and agreeing to have a chat with me. How are you?
Good. You're welcome. Happy New Year, and super excited to chat today. I feel like systems is something that people think is a boring and like unnecessary thing. And then once you're actually hit those revenue months, and then you realize those are the things that are keeping you from growth. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to talk about that. I think in the beginning, it's not sexy. It's not the fun part, right? Fun is like growing on social media or getting a lot of views and being creative. And then you realize, oh, wait, if I actually want to get to those 10K, 50K, 100K months, it is the systems that make all the difference.
Yeah, exactly that. Cool. So yeah, as you've just touched on, this is all about systems, and this is sort of my take on it. And the aim for this call is really to impart any sort of wisdom, any nuggets of gold. If anyone's watching this, if they're looking to start or have started, and it's just the overwhelm, right? As we all know and love, you've got to have something in place that can combat that overwhelm. So I guess a good starting point is like, how did you get into the online space? How did you start an online business, and a little bit about sort of your background pre-online business?
Yeah, so before online business, I worked in the entertainment industry for over 10 years in Los Angeles. That's where I'm originally from. And so a lot of entertainment started moving into influencer marketing, social media, digital marketing. And that's kind of how I got started in the influencer content creator space. And so I was a content creator. I did travel and lifestyle content on my blog, The LA Girl. That's kind of how I got started. And then I started working with a lot of brand sponsors. I worked with brands like Disney, the Four Seasons, American Airlines, Target, and Starbucks. And so I had a lot of fun talking about these brands to my audience and creating content. And so I had a really good system for my blog at that time. So I'd have a blog post every single week and then post it out on social media on Instagram. TikTok didn't exist then. And so then a lot of other content creators and influencers were asking me, okay, how did you get these brand sponsors? How did you negotiate? How much did you charge? And I kept getting all the same questions over and over again. And as much as I loved answering them, you can get a little tired and repetitive. And also, if you're not getting paid for it, you get burnt out, because I'm trying to, run my business, content business over here, but then there's these people that want to learn from me. And so as someone who's always been a teacher, I did trainings in corporate. I taught for some secondary education schools in LA. I've always been passionate about teaching and coaching. And so that's when I started to think about, how can I create something that people can have access to while not having access to my time, because I'm traveling and doing lifestyle stuff and working with brands, but I don't have all the time in the world to answer questions in the DMs. And that's when I found out about the online business world, about people having online courses and memberships. I started following other people in the space and learning from them. I started on Kajabi, and it was really easy to kind of just set everything up in there because I feel like it's drag and drop and a lot easier than a WordPress site or starting from scratch and coding
Absolutely.
anything
Yeah.
like that. And so that's kind of how I got started, is from the need of people asking me questions, but I didn't want to keep answering the same things over and over again.
Sure. So it sounds quite a familiar story. Like most of us, you sort of fell into the job. It sort of happened. It was like a key to another door. It just sort of happened as you progressed on and you sort of understood where it was going. What was your sort of first platform? You mentioned the LA Girl. So this was you just posting. I'm guessing Instagram. This is you just documenting your story, I guess. Is that a good
So the
accuracy?
LA Girl was started as a blog.
Okay.
So it was a blog on a WordPress site. And it
Wow.
was when, like in that time, bloggers were the influencers of the
Yeah.
world, right? It was,
Yeah.
there was like a period of mommy bloggers where moms would document, all the things that they do with their kids and like which stroller they use, and like affiliate marketing kind of was the thing, blogging and affiliate marketing. And then I actually started on Twitter first because Instagram didn't exist. So I was tweeting and I was sharing my blog posts on Twitter. So those were kind of my two first platforms. And then when Instagram launched, so you can
Yeah.
tell how long I've been doing this. Instagram didn't exist yet. That's when it was great because I was very visual and I
Yeah.
loved to show. I did travel and lifestyle. So I did a lot of landscape. I hike a lot and I shared my outdoor adventures. And then I think for travel influencers and travel creators, travel bloggers, Instagram became like a natural platform because we were sharing all the photos that we would take anyway for our blog posts. And so moved into Instagram. I was on Instagram for a long time. And so the LA Girl was my travel and lifestyle brand. That was the thing that kind of taught me how to do all the things that I did, and I got that to six figures. And then when I moved from LA to Minnesota now, I was able to actually sell that brand. And so
Amazing.
having that brand as a standalone brand was great for me in the long run because I was able to grow it to six figures, sell it, make an exit, and then I transitioned into focusing on the teaching business.
Amazing. Excellent. That sounds like a whirlwind tour. So let's just start with just for people like first watching this. I talk about blogging as well, and I think blogging is very key, especially if you want to be ranking in Google and YouTube as well. What was your sort of initial blogs back in the day before Instagram? What did that consist on? Was it long form copy? Was it videos? Was it images with alt text? How comprehensive were your original blogs before you actually went to use Instagram?
So everything was written content. It was long form copy. And I would think about really what people were asking me. And so I grew up in Los Angeles. And so a lot of, people I met, and there's a lot of transplants that come to LA and don't really know what to do. And there's like the generic things to do in LA, from these like larger publications like LA Magazine, Time Out LA. I think they have one in London, right, at
Yeah.
Time Out. So there's like these giant media companies talking about what to do in LA, but I think it was very like generic. And so a lot of people that I met, coworkers, friends that I networked with, would ask me because they're like, "You're a local. We don't want to do the generic tourist stuff. Like, we don't want to go to Hollywood and do all the things that like the tourists do. We want like the inside scoop." And so I wanted it to be from the perspective of one human being and one human girl, the LA girl. So I created this persona of, I'm from here. These are the things I like to do. This is where I take my friends when they're coming to visit. If I have friends that are coming from out of town, this is kind of the itinerary. And then also I'm a big outdoorsy person. And so I started talking about like my seven top 10 hikes in LA, or,
Sure.
7 hikes for people who want to do more than Runyon Canyon. And if you're from LA, you know that Runyon Canyon is the place that people go and they wear makeup and they
Oh,
wear
okay.
makeup and the celebrities go there, and it's more like a place to be seen rather than like an
Drive
actual
to the
hike.
top.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's where you dress up. It's like you're going to the club, but you're hiking. It's a very
Yeah,
LA experience. And so I talked about, what are like we have this thing in LA called the 6-pack of peaks. And I talked about the 6 hardest hikes in Southern California for people who are more serious hikers. And so I was willing to do the things like above and beyond the generic LA stuff. And that's kind of what differentiated me from these bigger media companies that kind of just wanted to do it for search terms versus someone who actually had the experience and went to these things.
sure. So being very authentic there, because that you're actually living and breathing, and it's naturally falling out of what you do on a day-to-day basis. So that's great. So yeah, did that initial blog fuel the fire for when you actually started to go on Instagram? Obviously, it's more mobile friendly. It's even more authentic, right? It's more sort of raw footage, you capturing content on your camera, on your phone. Did one fuel the other? Did that help sort of kickstart?
Yeah, definitely. So my primary platform was the blog, and
Mm-hmm.
the Instagram pretty much was the supporter, right? It was a traffic driver. It was, people would see the photos and then I would direct them to my blog post. So
Sure.
for me, like the primary platform was the blogging, and it was Instagram that kind of was the thing that got more people to see the photos. But I would share, if it's like 10 things, I would share 10 photos, and all of them would go back to that one blog post.
Nice. So the age old chat about long form versus short form. I know over the last few years, it's sort of morphed and it's sort of morphing again. What would be your advice for anyone starting out? Would you tell them to focus on long form? Would you tell them to focus on short form? Would you tell them to do both? Like what's your sort of take from when you started and from sort of what's happening in the landscape now?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I think, business is funny because it is like that journey that they talk about. And sometimes the things that worked before doesn't work anymore. And then you realize that, oh, they do work again. And so you kind of have to adjust it. And so for my experience, the blog absolutely worked, because even now when people are searching, things to do in LA or how to get a job in Los Angeles, my stuff still shows up from years
Right.
ago.
Yeah.
So it's still driving traffic. And even though it, can be a little bit more challenging than like just doing a TikTok video, there is more longevity in like the long form content. And we were speaking about this off camera earlier on, but something I wish I did was stay consistent in my YouTube channel, because I had posted some of the YouTube and then kind of fell off. And I think I didn't have a system that I could follow that helped me to be consistent about it. And so I was doing blogs and Instagram. And then eventually, when I transitioned to my coaching business, teaching creators how to monetize their business and work with brands and launch their own products. I did have a podcast at one point. I did have a blog and a YouTube channel, and then repurposing and distributing that content on Instagram and now TikTok. And so for me, I do believe that long form is still valuable. And I think sometimes we go with what's easier and
Sure.
sometimes short form is easier. And I could be completely wrong here, because I see some people still taking hours to edit and publish depending on what kind of short form video you're doing. I know some people spend hours on a 15-second video, and not to, discredit that, but for me, I think that it is a combination of both. The people that I see that have been doing this for a long time and are still, successful in their niche and in their industry are the people doing both. And I think it is It is a grind. I'm not going to lie. It's not, no one wakes up and be like, oh, I want to plan 10 YouTube videos today and I'm just going to film all day. It's hard, it's challenging, but I think that's part of the challenge of business is figuring out what works now. What are your strengths? How can you systematize and create a process so that that'll help you to stay consistent? And even now we're start ramping up with our YouTube channel again this year. And I am determined to come up with the right system process so that we will have, 50 videos done by the end of the year.
That's great. Is it the same YouTube channel or are you starting a new one?
Good question, Tim. And so I have one that we've kind of repurposed our podcast episodes from.
Okay, great.
So I think I'm gonna just keep the same one and revamp it. So many people ask me that question when starting on social media, like, do I have 2 accounts? Do I have 1 account? Do I start with 1? And for me, like, I just like to keep it simple. If you can't even get 1 channel up and running, it's hard to get 2 channels up and running. And yes, you can start over if you really want a clean slate. I think I have several hundred subscribers already. We just haven't, pushed people on there. Like I have, over 170,000 followers on Instagram, over 50,000 on TikTok. We have a large email list. So it's more just driving people to the channel once the videos are up and running. But it's more just like telling people it's there, and we haven't done a good job in doing that. But I think that'll grow pretty quickly because we do have traffic from other channels.
Great. That sounds perfect. So you mentioned content. Content is king. I do teach content marketing myself. Like what are the sort of number one bits of advice you'd be able to give anyone that's watching this in terms of like, what is the main aim? Like I always talk about what is the goal? What is the aim of a piece of content? And what sort of systems you've mentioned systems. Is it technology you're leveraging? Is it team you're leveraging? Is it a process that you've mapped out and it's proven? Can you sort of speak on that and give some advice to someone who's literally like overwhelmed with, hey, I've started this business and I do not know where to start?
Yeah, so I think the overwhelm comes from wanting to do 10 things, 12 things, 15 things, being on 10 platforms when you're just one person, right? And so I think in the beginning, I would just focus on one long form platform. So for me, that's either YouTube, a blog, or a podcast. I would just pick one. And I think that people think that are always scared of choosing one, and they think like they're missing out or that wasn't the right one, and you're not going to know that until you do it. And when you start doing YouTube, you can realize that like, oh, I don't want to be on video, I just want to be on podcasts. And that's a win right there, is learning more about you and what you can actually be consistent in, because you could start all 3 of those and then quit in 3 weeks because you can't stay consistent. And that's worse than, just doing one thing and trying to do that for 6 months. So for me, I think committing to one long form platform for 6 months, 12 if you can, would be like the first thing. And then after that, if you want to be ambitious, choose a short form platform like Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, depending on what you like to consume, or where your target audience is. And, taking that long form and repurposing it into short form and not trying to make it too complicated than that. And then once you get your bearings and you're like, oh, 30 days, 60 days, I could do, one long form and a few short forms a week, then you can start adding on either more quantity, or another platform later on. But I think that, we're not doing ourselves any favors by expecting ourselves to act like a 12-person team, right? We're trying to do a whole Gary V show and there's no camera person, there's no editor, there's none. It's just you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so for me, as far as my systems, definitely having a content calendar in place. My team and I just, use a Google sheet for this. I know some people do Airtable or Notion or Trello.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing as like choosing a platform. Just use one,
Yeah.
use it, and then see if you can, if you like it, you can stay consistent in updating it. I think that's like the biggest thing that people get stuck on is like, oh, but which platform should I use? I'm like, it doesn't really matter. The one that you're gonna stick to every single day and open, and one that you like using. My husband, he's a software developer. I always tell him about, oh, this new tool. And he's like, well, that's why they have trials, is so that you could try it and see if it sticks. Because, you know, if it doesn't stick, there's no point in paying that monthly subscription for that thing that you haven't been using. And don't worry if that's you. That happened to me all the time. We've had to scrub our subscriptions every couple of months because I always sign up for this new thing that I like and don't end up using. And so I think it's a learning process. I've been in the online business world for, 7 to 8 years now. And I'm going to tell you that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall off, and you just have to get back on again. And hopefully you're doing this because you want to reach more people. You want to help more people. And hopefully that's a motivation enough for you to keep going and keep trying.
Amazing. Words of wisdom there. Thank you very much. What's next for Hey Gwen Lane? What's in the future? Pipelines? What's coming down the road?
Oh man. And so I feel like this is something that we have been piecing together for a while. So it's funny because I did 2023 aura reading.
Oh, wow.
I haven't shared this on my social media platforms yet, but I like to do a lot of spiritual mindfulness, wellness stuff. And so I did this 2023 reading. And one of the things my reader said was that she saw that I was like on the floor with this giant puzzle and all the pieces are there, but it's just me trying to figure out which pieces stick together. So over the years, I've put out multiple offers, right? Like I've had a membership, I've had a course, I've had a high ticket program, I've done all sorts of things. And really it's about piecing together what is the thing that one, is sustainable for us as a company, profitable. Yeah. 3, provides like great results for our clients. What my team and I are excellent at delivering, I think that customer experience, and trying to figure out how to expand that and how to further help our clients. I know for some people, you're going to hear so many things online. Some people are going to say, oh, only have one offer and that's it. And some people are like, oh no, you should have, offers from, the start of your customer journey till the very end and own the market and things like that. And you won't know these things until you're in it. I think sometimes what is overwhelming for us as entrepreneurs is thinking that, one, I have to do all of it and I have to do all of it today.
Now, yeah.
Or this month or this year. And I'm going to tell you, no, like I would give myself a 10-year timeline for this business. And I'm not going to say like it's going to be the same business 10 years from now, or it's going to look the same, or even going to be the same people or the same brand name. But I think that if this is something that you want to do, give yourself that 10-year timeline. And then, have one major initiative per year. It could be a product, and you could decide, oh, I did year 1, it was great, but it wasn't profitable and I need to change up my offer. Or, okay, I loved YouTube, but I really want to get into podcasting, then change it. But stick to each thing per year, and then break that into chunks. Like I like quarters and doing 90-day projects as well. And so that's what I did for 2023 is like figure out, okay, what is this year's thing? How do we break that up in quarters? And then all the things you want to do, right? That, are fun, shiny objects that can be distractions right now. You could be like, that's a year 2 project. That's a year 5 project. If you think about the largest corporations out there, they're not planning for 12 months. They're planning for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years,
Absolutely,
20 years.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the thing with entrepreneurs is sometimes we're only looking at the short term versus the long term. And, if you want to be in business, I think that it's about thinking about the long term and thinking no matter what it is I'm doing, I'm going to be running a business 10 years from now because I don't want to go back to work. I
Yeah.
don't want to get a job. So I'm going to make it work no matter what, whether it takes 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. So I think that, yes, you are allowed to have all the things you want to do, but it's not going to happen all at once. And so choosing one, systematizing that, getting good at that, then getting your revenue to a point where you can start to hire people to help you achieve those other things, and being okay that it's not going to all happen in year 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah. Words of wisdom there. Yeah. I mean, the only constant is change, right? And you just got to roll with the punches and see what shape it is at the end of it. No, that's sound advice. Where can people go to see some of your content, Gwen?
Oh, everywhere. If you Google me, Gwen Lane, you'll find it. You can go to gwenlane.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. YouTube channel is coming soon.
Nice.
Yeah, we're super excited for all the content to come.
We will be looking out for the YouTube channel. Excellent. Well, I know you're very busy, so thank you very much for your words of wisdom. Hopefully that's helped some people watching this video. And hopefully we will be able to meet up in 3D
yeah,
soon, wherever that may be again. So
we'll be in Canada skiing.
Fingers crossed. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, it's great to catch up. And yeah, thanks for your words of wisdom. Speak soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
Cheers, Gwen. Bye-bye. So hopefully you found value in that video with Gwen. Head on over to some of our platforms to check out her content. But what I've done is, as I think content is king and content marketing is king, I've put together my own 5-step system that I've used time and time again to generate online revenue. If you wanted to do that and check that out, head on over to timpeakman.com/5 steps, and you can download a PDF copy and read all about how I've built 2 6-figure businesses in the past, and I'm looking to grow my 3rd. And I look forward to seeing you again on another video soon.